would you say there's this, well, at least for the women, from the, because in this, in today, I really want to be as fair as I can. When it comes to therapy, we have seen so many videos of women saying men who don't go to therapy are a red flag. And
Mm,
I'm always asking myself, if women really think therapy works and they think men really need therapy, men have trauma, for a group of women who really go to therapy, they, for some reason, they go to therapy more than the gym, but that's neither here or there, right? So they claim they go to therapy, men should go to therapy. So if they really go to therapy and it works, how come they keep making the same mistakes, whether it's becoming two times baby mama, whether it's they can't keep a man, whether it's they still have the same bad attitude? So
mhm.
do you think therapy works, and why do you think women are really pushing men into therapy?
One, I think people go to therapy for different motives and different reasons and different seasons of their life. So you have individuals where something really bad happens and they're like, wow, I need some help. Right. And sometimes when they go to get that help, their belief is that the answer is, I just need somebody to listen to me. And that's sufficient. And then there's other people that go on and be like, yeah, you can listen to me, but you kind of have to tell me who caused it. And they're hoping that the therapist or psychologist or social worker who's doing clinician work will tell them, uh, oh, the cause of all your problems is so and so. Not, it's your family member, it's your friends, it's society. And then there's other people that approach therapy because they want to not only get help, be told what's wrong, but find out how they contributed to it. So people go into therapy for like different reasons and motivations, like for what it is that they're wanting to seek from it. In regards to women specifically, I think that therapy overall is very geared towards female communication styles. By multiple studies will back up and show that women generally have no problem using much more words than men do on average. And for many of them, they feel it's very cathartic for them to talk and talk therapy and narratives and being able. It's just a cathartic experience for them to kind of get it out, to talk to someone, to connect. They feel very validated, and that's great, and that can be helpful for all people. The problem is that it's twofold. For many of them, not all, a lot of them assume that that's sufficient to count as, now I've changed, I've grown, because I'm seeing a therapist and I'm talking about my issues and getting it out. Usually it requires a little bit more in order to say that you quote unquote grown and changed. And then number two, they associate those that don't approach addressing things in the same way and saying, well, if you don't go to therapy, then how are you actually growing? So my initial issue with this is that individuals, but specifically women in this question, um, they'll go to therapy, especially when they've come out of a bad situation or a bad relationship. They do all this therapy, and they come out and they may be single for a while or doing therapy for a while, and they'll believe that they've grown when in all actuality, they may potentially just have not been in a situation, relationship, or interaction that triggered them. And they're like, well, I haven't dated in the last 6 months. So I've grown. I'm like, yeah, you haven't been in a relationship for 6 months. So we don't know how much you have or haven't grown. So what they're doing is they're taking what's happening in the therapy session and assuming without real world experience that uh, they're assuming that they've grown and that they're better now than everybody who hasn't. I do think that that's a level of arrogance that has kind of come, and it's almost like an elitism, cultural elitism, where it's like, well, if you don't go to therapy, well, therefore, and it's unfortunate because now it's created this tiered approach of like, well, if you haven't done what I've done, well, now we're not compatible. And it was like, well, it's possible that two people, I think therapy can be helpful, but first of all, I don't assume every therapist is good or great. And number two, I don't assume everybody's motives for going to get therapy are for the right reasons. So if you have a population of people who like to talk and a small percentage within that aren't going for the right reasons, and you also factor in that some therapists aren't that good or even great, you're going to run into a scenario where you're going to enable and prop up some narcissistic traits in the female population. So as a result, they'll think that they're better than many of the men that haven't gone to therapy yet. They'll believe that the men who disagree with the therapist that has been selected, they'll assume it's because he hasn't grown, when maybe it's the therapist's style or the therapist's approach that could be the problem. Uh, so there's a whole host of reasons for why they will pursue it. My issue is acknowledging that there needs to be more nuance when it comes to men and women's perspectives need to be acknowledged and valued, and male and female communication styles needs to be more studied and adapted to. And I think a lot of clinicians, unfortunately, have never even thought about the idea. Like, for us as therapists and clinicians, we're supposed to be trained, especially from an evidence-based perspective, just ongoing training. You're supposed to be trained with cultural adaptations, with cultural awareness. You're supposed to learn about different populations and how to cater your approach, cater your therapy to who it is that you're sitting in front of and who it is that you're talking to. How you're talking to a 12-year-old should be very different than how you're talking to a 42-year-old, right? Like, it should be a little different. How you're talking to a person from one ethnic background may be very radically different from another in terms of their cultural background. So we have all these nuanced things. If they're a part of the LGBTQ, there's a unique thing that you have to kind of think about with to cater messages that's inclusive for them. But then when it comes to gender, most women are running to therapy by default, and most men are not. And if you think about all the different ways of quote unquote cultural differences, it seems like the field is taken for granted that there's cultural differences even amongst male and females, men and women. And as a result, all these other groups to customize and be really aware and culturally sensitive, they factored in all this other list of stuff and completely forgot that the boys and men have unique biology, unique psychology, and unique experiences. And when you don't factor that in, one group doesn't feel heard. They often won't do well in this space. And now they'll either kind of stay to themselves or they'll have to go to other places to figure out how to get help and support.